Okay. Miss Stevenson,
Here.
Mr. Sidwell,
Here.
Mr. Sandoval, Mr. Sandoval.
Can you hear me out there?
Yeah.
Yes, I got you. Okay. And Mr. Streetman.
Here. And Liz will be absent tonight.
Yes, sir.
Okay. For the record, the people in attendance on this meeting will be Dr. Bush, Dr. Hazel Roundtree, Larry Wickham, Melissa Galloway with Parker,
Walker with Park Hill.
Parkhill, Smith, and Cooper, right? Something
Yes.
like that?
Yes.
Okay. Margaret Ragland, Josh McVeigh, Brian Griggs with Parker, Smith, and Cooper, Jim Morgan, Tom Sidwell, Teresa Stevenson, Jimmy Sandoval, Natalie Gillard, and myself, Jim Streetman. And that being said, do we have an approval for the agenda as presented to us? Or do we have any changes we want to make? Go ahead, Jimmy.
I did roll call.
We did? Oh,
I did. Yes, sir.
That's right.
Do we have, okay, let's back this train up. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented, or do we need to make some changes to it before we get into it?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Do we have any comments from the public on items on this agenda, Margaret?
No, sir. There are no comments at this time.
Okay. Do the consent agenda consist of the minutes of the last meeting? Do we have any corrections to those minutes that we need to add? Okay, if we have no corrections to them, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Teresa Stevenson, so moved.
And a
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Chairperson's report. I don't have anything at present. Reports, special guest. We have Dr. Bush. You introduce everybody and bring us up to date and take off.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's my pleasure to introduce our guests that are with us tonight. We have Melissa Calloway and Brian Griggs with Park Hill Architects. They have been working with us now for several weeks. Maybe we could even go into months on the overall campus master plan and what we may look like 10 years or so down the road. So I don't really need to take up their time. I'll just go ahead and turn it over to them. And I believe who's going to lead? Melissa? Okay. You've got the floor.
Right. Well, thank you guys for the time, and I'm excited about this, and I hope you like it. Let me share my screen. First, I want to start off by saying I didn't come up with this on my own. This is a collaborative effort of a large majority of the community, the broad campus representation, and hold on one second. It's not wanting to present. But we have lots
Melissa,
of community.
you were projecting. So
I was. It was telling me, and it was an error. So that's odd. Again. All right. So, like I was saying, we had a broad input from the county, the city, quite a bit of campus people. I think many of you have had meetings with us in our survey portion and some in the charrettes as well. So first I want to kind of show you, here's sort of where we are. This is just an existing map. And then in the next 10 years, we would like to head this direction. All right. So I'm going to kind of start with the big pictures here. One of the really, I think, critical pieces of this is we are working to create more of a campus feel, right? So one of the big pictures is that people tend to get lost. They come down 11th Street and they're not sure where's the main hub? Where do I go to register? Where do I, how do I navigate this campus? Is all of this part of the campus? And so we have focused a lot of our efforts. We'd like to create an artery, if you will, along 11th Street. We've done quite a bit of work already in establishing the rocks and trees here in front of Building C. And you've got this beautiful plaza here in front of Building A. And so one of the things Dr. Bush is chasing down, he'd like to rename this 11th Street to Campus Drive, so that this street, and the city of Tucumcari seemed pretty amenable to that. And so 11th Street will hopefully in the near future become Campus Drive. And we'd like to put signage on either side of 11th Street off of Tucumcari or Route 66, whichever name you call this road. And so that it'll pull you down this direction. So one of the items that we'd like to focus on is we already have approval from CES to move forward with this Building A. It may need a little modifications. We had done a prior project setup for that. But instead of doing it over here, we'd like to focus it over here off of 11th Street so that the entrance where you would do your student services will be off of 11th Street. You will see it coming in. And then we focused on adding the bookstore over here. So this will be where you register. We'd like to try to fit in a mother's room. We will need to upgrade one of the restrooms for accessibility, and it's got some plumbing code issues. So we'll focus on that area here. Once we move the bookstore over here, that frees up the bookstore space as it currently sits to be used for the University Center, which is where I bet you guys already know, but it's where they can continue their curriculum at a 4-year university. And so at the bookstore, this project is mostly just some furnishings and maybe a little bit of finish upgrades in that existing bookstore to accommodate this distance learning platform. Okay, and then coming on down the road, another big piece here is that we are looking at is the meat processing. So here, Dr. Insignias has found a fantastic system here with these mobile meat processing units. And these will allow some mobilization, and they're prefab units that will be a lot more economical. So part of our project, and he is also seeking grants. So we're not sure how much that one will cost the college, but hopefully he has applied for some. So hopefully we'll get some good news and this will be more economical. And then right below that, we intend to do a 9-acre solar power field, which I believe Jim can elaborate more on that, but most of that has been donated as well. So, but part of these projects, we will need to add an FDA inspector's office within Building E. And if this really takes off, long-term planning, we may need to add on some advanced technologies to Building E if the program supports it, if there's enough enrollment further down the future. All right. And then the other big project would be this 2-story residence hall here, this land here has been donated from the high school to the college, provided that a residence hall will go in its place. This will allow you to reduce your dependence on Stampede Village and give the students a place on campus, a place where they're a little bit safer. We're going to fence this in, and they will be able to walk instead of having to cross Route 66. They should be able to walk to all of their classes, and except for maybe at the Dinosaur Museum. So those are the big key. In order to, I did miss this. In order to get this space available over here in Building A, where it really is, and the nursing is growing. According to our nursing program seems to be really growing. So we would like to relocate nursing into the Armory and try to find a rural healthcare partner to learn and to add an urgent health space for the community as well. So the students can learn from the urgent care, and urgent care can benefit from having a little bit of extra help to service the community. So it's a really nice partnership that should benefit everyone. All right, I'm going to pause. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay, great.
I'm Jim Streetman.
Jim.
Looking at the Armory,
Yes.
we're going to put the nursing program in there when that is the one place that has a gym, has a kitchen, has shower facilities and everything to partially accommodate the gym.
Yes.
I don't know, to me, that is quite where we want the nursing program.
It should be able to accommodate all of them, and separate, yes. And I will present a kind of a schematic diagrammatic floor plan for that as well.
Okay. Another question I had, and this one may need to be directed to Jim Morgan, but we were talking about that solar field,
Mhm.
and it's going to take up 9 acres of that area of land back there.
Mhm.
Jim, is that going to interfere if we had to bring the cranes in and work on that tower or take something down?
No, I'll limit it to directly across from the turbine itself. That will reserve the northwest quadrant from the turbine for the that way, but
yeah, you're echoing so bad I can't quite tell what you're trying to say, Jim.
okay. I won't be going that far north,
Okay.
and I will leave it so that the cranes can get in there to do the job on the turbine.
Okay. That was the other thing. Now, if that's the case, then the meat processing, are we sure we want it in that location, or would it be better off down here in another location? You see, we still have this piece of land from the where the storage facility is there, and where that Lim Cheshire's house there, which is just across from the storage facility. We own that strip of land right down there between them. The foundation does. And would that be a better slot for the meat processing along there than up there, or something to think about? Because even the solar could go down in there and be tucked kind of out of the way.
Mr. Streetman,
It might be better, Jim. I don't know. The only thing about the power field is we're not going to put it all in at once, and the meat packing plant is all portable buildings, I understand. So in the rare occasion that we have to bring in the cranes, we could move the meat packing plant out of the duration that we're doing that. I believe we could be possible. But if you have land south line over toward those storage units, that would be a good place.
It's something to think about. Melissa, I think you had your cursor in there, but yeah, that section there we don't own. That belongs to I think the gentleman that owns the deal, Bowen. But
Oh, okay.
the piece behind that, going north and south, We own all that from the back of his facilities to Lim Chester's property right there. And that's about 5 acres going north and south there.
Okay.
Mr. Streetman, those your points are well taken, and they were actually points that came up in the discussion with a lot of the groups. I will tell you a couple of the rebuttals to that is number one, there was concern about the meat packing facility because of the other schools that are right beside it, and taking the kids going up and down through there. And the other issue was if they put it over where she's suggesting, the cattle trucks can come in off of the other side and not come down through the middle of where most of the pedestrians are. So those were two of the issues that I think sort of helped push it in where you see it now. But those are just
okay.
But your point has been brought up, and it was discussed several times, I think, wasn't it, Brian? So.
Well, and again, just to throw it out, because if we're trying to keep area around the turbine clear for possible service work in the future, that might be the better place for solar panels. Again, we would have to extend probably some electrical to do that, but that might be a really good place because it's tucked over there out of the way.
And one other thing, Mr. Streetman, the idea here was with knowing what any realm in the built environment campuses right now is not cheap, including just roadway infrastructure. And so the idea was that we could kill more birds with one stone by having one improved roadway off of 14th there that could serve as an improved access route, either to servicing the solar fields, to accessing meat processing there, or to get gears and rigs to the turbine and the tower there. Right. So it ended up kind of being a kind of a golden arrow route there that emerged. Okay.
I can understand that. Thank y'all.
Sure.
Just had to ask a question. Okay, I'm out of there.
Another thing I think we need to think about is the aroma that would come out of there. And so being located up here where you've got it, the majority of that southwest wind is going to blow it away from the campus.
I do believe there were some residents that live over here that were pretty opposed to having it anywhere near that came to one of our community charrettes.
Yes, Mr. Sidwell, that topic actually seemed to be the central topic around the meat processing plant. And,
okay, then how would that affect that motel probably right there? And the motels across the street?
Anybody stay in those motels?
Well, I don't know if we are in an informed position, Mr. Streetman, to speak well to that. That's probably a question worth asking Dr. Encinias. But the other side of this that I'm really fascinated about is what we've learned about the mobile meat packing systems here. The fact that, you know, we Park Hill side, we've done a fair bit of meat science work, but with brick and mortar facilities that have very distinct, dirty in, dirty out, and clean in, clean out requirements. They're, of course, as we all know, very heavily dictated, and the HECP requirements that the USDA sets. And so I think it'd be worth asking Dr. Encinias if you're dealing with a different module and approach, because one, we have to remember that the kill rate that they're proposing on these is not equal to like a commercial facility that you'd see like a Cargill or a Swift or something like that. It's a lot smaller scale of operation in a uniquely contained environment. So I think it's a question we need to relay back to Dr. Encinias and confirm that, simply because of the community factor involved.
Okay.
Dr. Bush, I'm not certain that I'll ever come up with 9 acres of But certainly we could turn that elongated drawing of the meatpacking plant and put it on the western side of the 9 acres, give up that on 15th Street. I kind of like that idea as far as traffic and everything else goes.
Another question I have, and I've talked to Manny about this quite a little bit. We met with him and Senator Woods and Representative Zamora and the Eastern Plains Council of Government and discussed a lot of this, not necessarily location of this on the campus, but just the mobile units in general. And he was talking about how the slaughter would be from a mobile unit, the Matanza, not Matanza. I can't think of what it's called now, but where they would go out, say to a ranch or a feedlot or whatever, with a mobile unit, slaughter the animal, and then transport it to these meat cutting, the mobile units there. So you may not necessarily, and I don't know if he was planning on having the slaughter take place at this facility, in which case you'd need to have some pens also, corrals. But if it's done by a mobile unit, then, these could be located any place, and I don't think you'll have quite the aroma that you would like on a permanent facility. But like Jim is saying, where you put that on the west side, that
It will save you some road construction. So,
Melissa, the only thing I would do is where you've got it, I would move it down a little bit. That way we would still have an entryway to swing in there. Maybe not that far down, but it would give us an entryway in there to get to the turbine with trucks.
Okay.
And then we would also have the entryway even below that if we need to come back, because we own that road right down below that too. It goes right by our foundry area there.
yeah, I like this plan.
I like that placement.
Mm-hmm.
I do too. I think it might need to be moved north slightly, ever so slightly, but if you did that and kind of centered it in there, well, you've just about tried to do that. If you do that, and that should give us turnability, at least on the northern side, if we needed to get the big trucks in with something really long like a blade or something.
Right.
And that looks pretty good.
Good. I like it.
And we have electrical, water, sewer, everything there that we might need to. And we would never have to move them again after that.
Well, they're on wheels, so if you need to,
We could.
Yeah, that's the
And
beauty of it. It's mobile, so you can move it if it doesn't work there.
Yeah.
That would work too. Okay. Cool. Yes, ma'am. You're back in your court.
Okay, well, that's mostly what I had. We do have a list of project descriptions. So
how many beds were we looking at in that two-story?
So we'd like 48 beds for phase 1 and 108. Make sure it fills up before building out a second phase. So 24 bedrooms with 2 beds each.
Okay. And we've got enough room on that, a lot on that area then to put in what? How many more?
4.
Oh, yeah, quite a bit. So each one of these is 48 beds. So we can easily do three phases plus another half of or so there.
Your standard.
Melissa, I met with the developer again this week and the investors who are wanting to move on this, and they're going to be getting a hold of you very soon. We have one more meeting, and they want to sketch out some ideas and talk with you about it. So it's ruining my president's report, but the good news is they're shovel ready. All they need to do is talk to you guys and get everything drawn out, and they're ready to go. And basically what they're looking at, just to give you a heads up, is that these would be built to your specifications, obviously, collaboratively designing what they would look like, but they would be built and sort of prefabricated and put together. So there's less of that having to find lots of local help kind of thing. So, but they'll take care of those details with you. But real good news on that end of it.
So one of the most cost-effective, what we're seeing in student housing, and it you know, even amidst a lot of changes in the student life environment and higher education, it's still one of the common common denominators is the 2-bed living unit with internal bath and sink. That it's essentially about a 20-foot square. They're fairly straightforward and standardized. Some will have accessible features specific to meet code requirements. Others won't. But it makes for a whole lot of ease because you can stack plumbing and matters like that and effectively do that and scale it out over time. And still you know, promotes and allows for a decent development of student life environment there. And to give you an idea, we just completed New Mexico State University's newest residence hall, Juniper Hall. It's a 250 bed or 200, I think it's like 258 bed. I can't remember the number exactly. Environment with 2-bed units just like this would. So.
But they're very, very excited to talk to you guys. So I've got one more meeting come up as soon as I get back in town with them, and then they're going to be getting in touch with you and coming out.
Okay. Right. Oh, I think Dr. Roundtree had a question.
I did. It's just about the dorms. I wondered if you were including some common space area. That, you know, we do have that a little bit at Stampede, but I think the larger the dorm, the more greater the need for, you know, meeting space.
79. Sure.
Yeah.
Meeting space.
Yes.
We can certainly incorporate some. One of the things, I guess, though, that you might consider is using the armory for your meeting space instead of maybe building it into the dorms, just because you do have so much square footage.
It's just across the street, and that's where the kitchen and everything is, and that's where the gym floor will be. That makes perfect sense that the meeting space be over there.
Or even the thought of a large lobby, just so that when parents come and there's move-in day, there's often, you know, some need for gathering at the facility. So just a thought.
Mr. Streetman, one of the conversations too that involved the kitchen area in the armory was to, we've got a pretty nice commercial kitchen to start with. It gives us some opportunity that if we grow and decide to add a culinary program, that we've got culinary opportunities there to have a culinary program, as well as having food service available there for next door to the dorms. So, of course, the police, the campus police, are also housed in the back of the armory as well. But there's a lot of room down the other direction. If you go back the hall toward the back of the building, that part of the building could be used for culinary and a bunch of other stuff. The gym would still be there for athletics and those types of events that they want to use it for, or intramurals, those types of things. But they're going to need a significant space for the practicum areas and the simulation areas for the allied health programs. And it may not just be nursing, but it may grow into, you know, radiological tech. I mean, there could be 2 or 3 other programs. There's lots of room to grow and keep all the allied health together, as well as having an urgent care facility where the students can do internships, but it also provides a place that if somebody breaks an arm in town, they have a place they can go and get it, you know, splinted in the middle of the night kind of thing.
One other thing that we've noticed is there is a significant nationwide, both at federal and state level, disbursement effort underway in the rural health field. So if we can tie and integrate what is being proposed in the curriculum program for LVN or ADN or whatever those programs may be, and simulation related spaces with the urgent care facility as a rural health resource and outlet there, that's something where the potential could exist here for the college to be able to secure funding there without really having to cross paths with NMHED, other than just getting Project Star approval. You're not requesting necessarily the funding from them.
That's definitively the goal, Brian. In addition to that, the graduates get rural health scholarships, so they end up basically going for free. Because we are in a rural area, and if they serve in a rural area when they complete, which most of them will, then they'll be able to get the rural health grants, educational grants as well. Okay.
Awesome.
One last question I've got for Melissa.
Yes,
That
sir.
area there that you've got marked in H, what you've got shaded in blue right there, that's where you're talking about putting that 48 units, right?
Yes, sir.
So the way you've laid this out, conceivably, we could put 3 48 units in there, which are about 144 beds, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And I've labeled this as outdoor theater, but this can just be outdoor plaza space. It can be anything you guys see fit as we somewhere nice yard green space for the students.
Yeah, I just had a crazy idea on this just now, seeing some previous reviews doing this, but if between phase 2 and 3 of H, if there was a Sally Port's like a tunnel through the building there that links to the center of the outdoor theater, and there was just kind of like an improved crossing across the street, kind of as a rally point for the iron pour and all, you've really kind of created.
Did I lose you? You like froze?
I think a real kind of collegiate.
Right, I don't
Are
know
y'all
if you can
hearing
hear us freezing up there.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there. Are y'all hearing me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The idea being that we could tie some key elements to the campus. The iron pour is such a major part of the Mesa Land's experience. If there's a way we can do that, it's just a crossing thought there.
Okay.
You're talking about having an underground crossing or an overhead crossing or what?
Oh no, it's just Mr. Streetman. What it'd be is you think of some collegiate buildings there where there's an archway through the building itself, just at ground level. You can walk.
Oh, okay, I got you.
And treat the outdoor theater space as a plaza, and then have just maybe a crosswalk there that connects over to just some improved surface areas there. They're a little bit more defined as attendees and visitors increase for each year's iron pour. It can really kind of make for a nice central concept.
Yeah.
It's also into a nice parking lot too, Brian, that if in that green space, if that became more of an amphitheater type of area, people could park across the street and walk over that and into that area, which would be a nice area if someone was wanting to have a musical group or do some simple kind of a play or something like that. They could use it.
Now that area where you've got listed, you've got a Sally Port right there. We don't own that property, so that's.
Oh no, I was just pointing here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you then. Yeah, but I just wanted to clarify that because we don't own
Sure.
that piece of land.
We'll try not
Okay.
to build on anybody else's land.
No. Okay.
Got
I just had one question.
Absolutely.
I see that there's a dotted line to the food bank. Is there improvement anticipated for that?
It's not particularly a project. We just want to identify some
Okay.
space within there for the food bank.
Okay.
It's there so that we'll take over a little bit of the space within C for them to have an office and some storage.
Okay. And
Hazel,
one,
we just moved it from one side of the building. It was on the northern side. Now it's on the branch on the southern side of building C, but it's the space that you and I showed you.
okay. So the space where you showed me, that is called the northern side?
Your audio's cutting out. Sorry.
Okay. I'm
The
sorry.
northern side's on the bottom of it, Hazel.
Okay.
North is to, I
North is
think.
up.
No, north is up. North is up.
Okay.
North is-
I'll go back. I'll go back and take another tour.
That's all right. North is up and south is to the bottom.
Okay. Thank you.
You're muted, Mr. Streetman.
Okay, starting all over. When you walk through that door of that building over there, the SPDC offices on the left, and just down just a little ways, we have a prism block wall that's kind of a retainer around an area where they have tables and stuff.
Mhm.
Isn't that where that food bank is?
Yes. Currently, it's right back there, right, Jim?
Well, that
And
would
it's
be
nine.
kind of where the SPDC offices are. Is it to the left of where the C?
Actually, I think what we're showing is south of where the SBD.
That's
So
where
we're
we
looking-
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. If it was south.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
that central common space, Mr. Streetman's is in that central block bay that's kind of the wider of the of the 3 blocks there.
Okay. I'm with you now.
Mr. Streetman, I'll just say this. When they pull back and you can see it at a bigger picture there, one of the things that I was asking them is since you're coming in off of 66 onto what we've been calling Campus Drive, currently you can't see as you drive down that street what's what on each side of the buildings. In fact, the labeling of the buildings often face 66. So the way this is designed is that you go down through a center boulevard of the college and everything is on your left and right. And it's all lined with, trees and banners and things that looks like you're actually on a live campus. The entrance has an area that would be out on 66 where you pull into that area. So it gives it a much more collegiate look to it.
Yeah.
And you're able to see everything on both sides.
Jimmy can testify to this because he's been with me throughout this whole thing. But the concept we had almost 25 years ago is that the west side of Building A would eventually become the front of the college.
Well, I'm glad our visions align.
Yeah, it does because and Jimmy Sandoval can attest to that because even under Dr. Berry, he had visions that west side of Building A would eventually be the focal point of the college.
It works out really nicely. The walls have just been filled in here, but we can open them back up and put windows in right into the student services.
That's right.
So you will pull up where you register. It'll be obvious, some signage and some glass, and it'll feel welcoming. We want to.
So 2 important points there. First of all, I believe on Friday, Melissa and I are working on the Building A project and reconfiguring that, getting that going. We've got that money. We can't sit on it forever. And second of all, you said you were having you had dreams of this 25 years ago. I had dreams you wouldn't like it. So I'm really, I'm very glad to hear that you do. So
no, this is something that was talked about almost, I'm going to say 25 years ago. This was under Philip Berry and David Gallatin, and Natalie would have been there.
Well, you can add my name to it because I liked it too.
Yeah, it's something that we have talked about, and I like it. I like it.
So apparently, Dr. Bush came to the meeting kind of like Eisenhower on D-Day with two messages: one if the landing had worked, and then one if D-Day had been a disaster there. So he's quietly outside of view, tearing up the alternate plan of what the west of Building A solution would have been. So as we speak.
Okay.
One other thing that just to mention here that I'm just I think I really excited here having seen this, and kudos to Melissa, Amber, and our project team here is we've Mr. Streetman and Jim, certainly the members of the board and executive committee. We've had the privilege of working with Mesa Lands for, it kind of scares me now. It's been a while here. It's been a decade. In the midst of that, we know that it's proud cadre at Mesa Lands here that has worked hard to make the institution there, and we know at the same time, communications that everyone's had over the course of the projects. How can we improve what in our world? Architect named Robert A.M. Stern even wrote a book about it called Pride of Place. What is the spirit of place to Mesa Lands here? And I think the college has always had that, and you talk to people around the community, around the region, I'm sure they would say it has that. But if you were to ask them, that the answers might vary. It might vary everywhere from a wind turbine to any number of things. I think that I want to say is kudos to everyone in the stakeholder engagement process here. I really see a real spirit of place that's emerged out of this, and my congratulations to all of them.
I'd just like to ask one thing of Melissa, if she doesn't mind. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but we didn't talk about it, but we did spend significant time talking about it in the various meetings that were held with the community and others. But do you want to review some of the high points of the branding issues of the college with the board?
Sure. One of the things that has sort of come up in our exercises is that I guess you guys have all noticed that your buildings are all blue, and your school colors are green, and it is significantly less expensive to change your business cards than it is all of your buildings. So we've sort of discussed revising the colors. So we've sort of and I believe Josh is working on updating these logos. So when I do wrap this up, we'll hopefully have new logos with blue instead of green. And that's why we've sort of led with blue as our sort of highlighting colors throughout this project. Is that kind of where you were going? And this will save quite a bit of money and keep everything continuous with the branding.
It is, but just underscoring the importance of branding, in general, is just so critical that we recognize branding before we actually recognize words in many cases. So, the fact that we have good branding really is important to us, and that we remain consistent with that. But thank you, Melissa.
Absolutely.
Dr. Bush and Melissa, maybe it might be good also to point out what we have left to remain in the timetable of completion that stands here between now and then.
Okay. So now, with you guys' permission, I will take these bits of modification and I will continue my utility analysis, my project cost implications. So I will need to get with Jim and Greg, Dr. Bush again, and see about phasing plans. What do we want to do in the next 2 years, 4 years? Now that we know which directions, which projects we want to tackle, we need to put them to a timetable. And so, and then I can use that to calculate how much these projects are going to cost over the next 10 years, and we can start to get together a capital outlay goal. And so I would like to wrap this up and get that to you all in the next month, if at all possible.
Let's just have Margaret get a meeting scheduled for us, and we'll hammer it out.
Sounds good.
If you guys get that hammered out, then let's have it on the agenda for the next meeting then too.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I think, Margaret, if I recall, I think you've already forwarded us that meeting. It is it the 18th of October?
That may be. Let me look here.
Is that correctly?
I think it's the 19th.
19th. Forgive me, 19th.
The 19th is the board meeting, yes, sir. For the next board of trustees meeting is the 19th. So I'm assuming that y'all would like to maybe meet with Dr. Bush and the executive team beforehand, before
Yes.
the 19th.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, back it up
Okay.
a week, Margaret. That gives us a week to pull it together. Well, yeah, at least a week, because we have to get our board
Yeah.
tickets ready.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
If that's going to put things in too much of a tight, we can have this on the agenda for the November meeting.
I actually
yeah.
don't think it's going to be that difficult, Mr. Streetman, because there's a couple of things. The reason I say that, first of all, the work on building A that Melissa's referred to, we already have the $1.2 million in the bank that needs to be taken care of and do it. So I'm just going to say,
Yeah.
do it. Okay. Once they get it drafted out. In fact, Melissa and I had this conversation a few days ago, and I said that if we were, and later we'll talk about the schedule, but if the college was going to be empty, basically in December and most of January, could they actually get the construction done on it during that time? But the time frame doesn't work because they don't have the time to get it done, and we don't have time to get it before the state and then get bids in order to get it done before that time.
Right.
So that piece won't work. But the point being is that building A, check it off your list, because that's going to be like, we've got it done just as soon as we figure it out. The res halls, I got to have a meeting with them probably next week, and then they're going to immediately get a hold of Melissa and them. They're going to have that, check it off your list. And so it's those things are going to happen pretty quick. The later in our meeting this evening, I'll be talking to you about the meat processing, and we've had an offer extended to us to expand our meat processing program using another facility for a while. So that's something that we can kick the can down the road just a little bit, and before we have to build. And so it's not going to be very hard for us to figure out which ones in what order need to be done. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah.
So if you just get us out a week and a half or so before the board meeting, Margaret,
Yes, sir.
we can. I think we can hammer it out.
Yes, sir. I'm looking at October 5th, maybe PSC meeting with you and the executive team. Melissa, you can get a hold of me tomorrow and we can kind of finalize that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. I guess, Dr. Bush, Brian, Melissa, are we through with y'all?
Yes, sir. I've got nothing
Yes, sir.
else.
Unless you have if the board has any other questions, please, we certainly would
I have one.
take them.
Go
On
for
the
it, Jimmy.
colors that you guys want to change, the Mesa Lands, that blue.
Uh-huh.
can we take out the community and just call it Mesa Lands College instead of Mesa Land Community College? That's what we're working. That's what we were working with Gooseback to change the name of the college to Mesa Lands and then take out the community.
Yeah, Mr. Sandoval, it's fascinating that you said that because I was actually sketching that out here in the conversation while taking notes. So because I think that's actually the continuing trend. We're entering a world, I think, when people are realizing that we don't need to be putting four-year universities up on a pedestal. We need to be training and equipping our future workforces. And for some reason, there is just some kind of ingrained stigma with the word community. And the work that Mesa Lands does more specialized work that enters the realm of research than, with all due respect, in St. John's College in Santa Fe. I think that, from my opinion there, I think that's a great idea.
That is true.
To change the name, is there a charter or something that
That's something-
designated this?
That's something we'd have to look at, Tom, and that's something we couldn't do on spur of the moment, but it's something we need to plan for
Right.
because of the fact that merchandise is in the stores and everything else all say Mesa Lands Community College. So
Yeah.
we would want to work things out and deplete things before we would kind of jump into something like this and make something quite this dramatic. At this stage right now, Jimmy, we're primarily talking, instead of having to repaint buildings green, to leave the buildings blue and just change our logo. In other words, our little
Yes.
emblem right there, it says Mesa Lands Community College with the Zia symbol, that would become blue instead of green. That's the simplest for right now. But no, I'm not in disagreement with what you're wanting to do either, Jimmy, but that's something that we need to look at as a board. And there'll probably be some hoops we're going to have to jump through. Because legally, if I'm right, back in our, I'm trying to think what's the term is, what you'd call it when we were designated as a college. We were set up as not Mesa Lands Community College. We're working under Tucumcari Area Vocational School.
Yeah, and then
That's our legal name, but we can utilize Mesa Lands Community College now, and we've gone through the steps to get that approved and legal. But we would have to go through that again to do the name change. But it's something to think about and look at. Yes.
Mr. Sidwell, to add to that, he's correct. There are a number of steps that would need to be taken. It's very possible that the legislature would have to simply approve it. It wouldn't be a big deal to them, but our accreditors would also have to approve it. But this happens all the time. The biggest thing that makes me want to change it is the fact that we have these destination programs that people come from all over the world. And so where we serve our local community, but we also have residential housing and are serving students that come to us from all over the country for rodeo or for silversmithing or any of these programs. So in that event, it's sort of unusual for a community college. But at the same breath, community colleges are being globalized. So we don't just prepare for the community anymore, but we prepare people for life in a global society. So it wouldn't bother me either way.
Okay, because the community never has helped Mesa Land for nothing. So it's better to just call it Mesa Lands, and I think it'd be a lot easier, a lot better.
I think it's
Mesa Lands College.
Yeah, I think it's a decision, as Mr. Streetman points out, that would need to be made, because if we do go ahead and change the colors later in the meeting, Josh is going to talk to you about the colors. Before we get, Millen is at a place to set up contracts with us where we're able to get our merchandise at discount rates, and we would want to have that straightened out before we started ordering sweatshirts. It said Mesa Lands Community College, and then all of a sudden you change it to Mesa Lands College. So, so we don't want to kick the can too far down the road, because we do need to make changes, and we need to brand these changes that we're talking about in the campus master plan.
Yeah, and the other thing I was pointing out earlier too is we don't want to have a warehouse full of coffee cups that say Mesa Lands Community College, and we're going to do a name change in the middle of all that. So I would prefer not to have our money tied up in something like that either.
Architecturally, I'd suggest we don't spend a ton of money on a sign. We might kick that one down until after we've.
That might be a good point. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Any other questions for these folks while they're here?
That's it. That's
Okay.
all the name change, that's all.
Brian, Melissa, thank you all so much. Appreciate you. You're welcome to stick around if you want. If you don't have other things to do, we'll let you go.
Well, it was a pleasure seeing all of y'all. I hope everyone stays well and healthy. And we really appreciate the opportunity of working with college in this endeavor.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Bush, you're still up, sir.
Bye, Brian.
You're muted, sir.
Dr. Bush.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I said when I start my reports every month, I always think, I wonder if I'll have a page out of it, and then I end up, by the time I'm done, it's 25 pages long. But I just wanted to start off by I'm not going to read it to you, just sort of hit some high points that I think are important. I think it's time for the board to pat yourselves on the back, as well as everyone at the college. All of you received a message from me earlier this week where we discovered that we were tied in the nation for the 28th best community college in the nation. And this is by WallaHub, who uses about, and anybody from my cabinet can jump in here and correct me, but I believe there was at least a dozen different points that they use to measure schools. So this is a pretty big deal. To be tied for 28th is terrific. We are the 11th most affordable school in the nation. We are in the top 2.9% of community colleges in the nation. And we also won 6 awards, 2 for our WIND program.
I want to go get an ice cream.
And 2 for our WIND program, which has been rated in the top 3 in the nation. 2 for our paleontology program, which is rated in the top 10 to 15 in the nation. And 2 for our animal sciences program, which is rated in the top 15 in the nation as well. We have really made some great strides over the last period of time that we've been trying to redirect what we're doing. We also interviewed, as you know, with Excellencia for Education, which is it's the Better Housekeeping Seal for HSIs. And so every HSI is not admitted into the Excellencia program. We were. So we are an Excellencia school. Our next step will be for us to pull our data together where we will earn a seal. And by the way, just to give you a hint of where we're at in that, there are 600 600 HSIs in the country, and we are in the top 100 of those HSIs based upon the new program we've put in place, the focus we're putting on Hispanic culture and heritage, the focus that we're placing on providing student support and student success, and those things. When we get our Excellencia seal, we would be in the top 20 to 25, maybe 30 schools in the nation. And to give you an idea of some of what this all boils down to, when we get that seal last year, the Mackenzie Scott Foundation, she's the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos. She awarded all of the schools who got the seal. Okay, there were 8 last year. She awarded each of them anywhere between $10 and $40 million as a gift. And let me just also tell you that when we interviewed the president of Excellencia and I, who interviewed me for the school, was very, very impressed. And she said to me, "You all may be ready in the spring to put your name in the hat for the seal." And I said, "We're working hard toward it." So anyhow, the things we're doing are tremendous. It's going to give us, I can just imagine how much relief it would be for us to have a $10 million gift that we would be able to do the things we need to do, not to mention the $40 million gifts. I mean, but those are just incredible. And if you'll give me just a second to brag just a jiffy, after the school was admitted as an Excellencia school, I was evaluated for what I've been doing for Hispanic student success, and I was picked in the top 4% of all colleges and universities presidents in the nation for focusing on Hispanic student success. So that's not as important to me, but I think I love, of course, everybody likes to get a little recognition from time to time, but what I think is that's something that you can brag about, that you can go out and say, look, this school is focused on this. We have a president focused on this. We're making a change and improving the Hispanic student success in this region. And these are big deals. So there's a lot of good happening. And I got a call from a president on the other coast who said to me, he just got back from a conference, and he said, and this was his quote, he said, "There is a huge amount of buzz going around about Mesa Lands Community College." And so I was really tickled to hear that. That's what we want. We want people to know. That's how we're going to grow our program. That's how we're going to grow our school. That's how we're going to let people know that we are that school of excellence that we are setting ourselves out for. So briefly, as through my report, my first paragraph focused on the fact that a lot of the time since we last met, we've been dealing with COVID. No surprise there. The second paragraph, was a lot of our time over the last month has been spent on the recovery from the storm. We certainly have had a number of issues related to that, but I would say, and Jim can chime in if he'd like, I would say that we have we've met those challenges and we've overcome them. We're back to normal operations, and we have students back in housing, and and things are moving along quite nicely. And I want to commend all the people. There's no way I could point out who here, but it really did take a village after that storm. And the night of the storm, it took a village. And I do want to take a second to commend my executive staff for that, because they all got called out when the storm hit at 7:32 in the evening. We were all down there with water over our knees, getting students out of housing, helping the people get out of there, getting them out into safety and getting them moved into a safe, dry area. And so great kudos to Jim and to Josh and the whole team, Natalie and Hazel and everybody who brought their cars and lined up lights for us so we could see what we were doing. I want to also just commend Josh and Larry as well, because we did have to activate the emergency alert system at the college to evacuate. They did we we also spent the day after all debriefing on this so that we can be even better prepared the next time we're faced with a crisis. So I think that was important. Just want to point out that I went to the New Mexico Legislative Finance Committee meeting in, oh gosh, hang on a second. I can't remember where it was. Las Cruces, I believe, and ended up, I sat down at the table to observe the meeting, and they looked out and saw me, and they asked me to come to the witness table, and I ended up testifying about what we were doing related to workforce development, and they had huge praises for Mesa Lands and our various technical programs and what we're doing to develop customized training and so forth there. So, so that was sort of a surprise for me, but it turned out wonderfully. Also ended up at the New Mexico Legislative Finance Committee in Taos. And at this one, it was focused on enrollment. And we bragged a lot about our enrollment increase because we are by far the highest enrollment increase in the state of New Mexico. So what we've experienced this fall has been great. So our legislators there were very happy with what was going on at Mesa Lands. I had a great opportunity to spend some time with them afterwards and show them the data and talk about our programs and focusing on our technical programs and so forth. So that worked out wonderfully well. The following day ended up sort of being an interesting, fun day. Ended up going down to Corona with Andy Swap, and we were guests invited by the New Mexico State University to visit the New Mexico State University Ranch and Wind Farm, along with Region 9 Educational Cooperative from Ruidoso and executives from Pattern Energy. Now, in the past, we have not had a very vibrant relationship with Pattern Energy. There's different reasons for that, but that all changed. We had a wonderful day. They took us on tours of the area. They called back this week. Oh, after that, Region 9, which by the way doesn't cover us, but Region 9 was very, very impressed with what we're doing, that they went on their own website and featured Mesa Lands, a school that wasn't even in their district, as the school to go to for technical education. They had our logo and everything on the front page of their website. I saw that and thought, oh my God, I don't want to go to the next president's meeting because I'm going to hear about it. But so, and if you go on their website now, they have moved it down into a story, and there's a whole story about us visiting there. So Title 9, or Region 9, excuse me, Region 9 is huge fans of ours now. We just entered into an MOU with them where they have provided us with a number of top of the line, high-tech first-round trainers. And so Title 9, or Region, I keep saying Title 9, Region 9 is the group who awarded those to us. So that's working out terrific. But the most interesting part is what came out of Pattern Energy. Pattern Energy is the world's largest, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, the world's largest producer of solar energy, and they are putting in across northern New Mexico the largest wind farm in the world. And they, I talked to them. We've shaken hands and gave each other hugs, and they want us to provide training and workers for them. So this is a huge, huge, huge deal. Now, add that to what we're doing in Field Corps. And Jim will tell you that we have scheduled for this fall roughly 600 field course students coming in for the WIN program for either degrees or recertifications and so forth and so on. So this, getting involved with Pattern and Region 9 and the New Mexico State University was a big deal. And then what happened was, after I wrote my report for you last week, in fact, it's just only been in the last couple of days, they called back and they invited us back to the wind farm with Pattern Energy, but they want me to bring my executive staff with me. They're that serious. We're moving forward and we're moving in big time here. And so, Margaret's working on a time for us. And so, Jim and Josh and Natalie and Hazel and I will all be going back to Corona to meet with them again. And so really, really great news there. On September 1st, I met with some folks who are working on a major project around Tucumcari Lake. Anyway, it's been, the conversations are continuing on this. This would give us the opportunity. In fact, I pushed them just a little bit on it because it gives us an opportunity to use areas around Tucumcari Lake for an environmental science lab. But when I talked to them, I said, that's great. There was about 5 acres there that they were talking about. But I asked them for the whole lake. So, and so they gave it to me. So anyway, I told them, I said, we can learn all kinds of biology by studying what's going on in the water and the waterfowl, as well as what's going on the land. And they said, so we went back and forth on issues surrounding hunting. And I told them that we can work around hunting schedules. And they said, well, if you can work around hunting schedules, then we're more than happy to work with you. So I said, great, give me the whole lake. And so they did. So we're going to do an MOU and be able to do some really innovative stuff regarding environmental sciences out there.
Clarification.
Yes, sir.
Give me the whole, they gave you the whole lake. They gave you the whole lake to use, correct?
For an MOU, we have an MOU that we would be able to use anything around the lake that we wanted to use. Yes, that whole area of property. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just to give you a little bit more, because you're shaking your head and saying big deal, the Corps of Army Engineers are looking at the lake, and they're going to build new levees and dams and so forth around the lake. And so it will it won't be the lake that you know it to be now. It's not even going to be remotely the same shape. So lots of change going on there. So it would be it'd be a very positive thing. And it would in fact be a wetlands. So where it's currently not. So anyway, any other questions about that? Okay. I presented a proposal, went to the Tucumcari Board of Education, and in response to the lot that is that we talked about a few moments ago, and they came back with their answer on that. And if you'll give me just a moment, please. Sorry, just a second. So anyway, this evening at the board meeting, we discussed the use of the land. Originally, they had approached us, or there had been discussion. I don't know who approached who initially. I think it might have been some conversation with Jim and some others about giving us this piece of property that we discussed this evening. they had 3 stipulations on it. The first stipulation was that it was to be used for residential housing. Second is that it had to be started and they had to be using it within 10 years, or it would the property would revert back to the Board of Education. And the third was that we would have to help them find a location for the bonfire. At this point in time, I want to take a minute and I need to apologize to this board. And because I made a statement that evening that was wrong and I misunderstood that. And upon further review today of my sources on this, there was a miscommunication between 2 events. And one event was when I was discussing this with others at the college, surrounded the bonfire, and the other event surrounded a garbage truck that dumped some hot embers, and those hot embers eventually ended up on the roof of Building A, and Building A had a fire. I made a mistake, and I apologize if I embarrassed any of you for this, because at that meeting, I didn't have the 2 things separated, and I accidentally said that it was it wasn't accidentally, I didn't know any better. I said that it was the bonfire that did it. So there was a miscommunication between these 2 events. The roof on Building A did catch fire and it sustained water damage. However, it was due to the dumping of the embers of the garbage truck. And so I just simply want to say to you that I misunderstood the account. I apologize for any misrepresentation or confusion I may have caused in making that statement. It was not my intent to give any inaccurate account. It was a misunderstanding, and I look forward to continuing to work closely with the Tucumcari schools. And I apologize for embarrassing them or this board. That I misspoke and misunderstood that evening. So my apologies for that. We've already talked a little bit about the HSIs and with the Excelencia. So I met with some stakeholders. This is actually something that came from internal. We began to talk about what we could do in the area of workforce development and supporting companies with credentials that would meet their training needs. So in the world of degrees and so forth, those are called micro credentials. And so we have decided to add a series of small certificates. These are workforce certificates. They would be called workforce certificates because they are just designed for a company to take for their employees to take 2 or 3 classes to help them boost their skills. And so we're going to be moving forward on that. It really will become something that we'll be able to take college-wide. And the beauty of it is working on developing this micro credential, or what we're going to call a workforce certificate. We work with the faculty in those areas that matches those workforce credentials with their course programs. So if they decide they ever want to go ahead and get another certificate or a degree, those workforce certificates plug right in. They don't lose any time or money, and they would be able to count toward their degree. So we would be moving them from non-credit to credit, which is one of the major trends taking place in community colleges, and being able to support our workforce development needs in the process. So that's something else we've got going. I have 2 pieces of news to share with you regarding the Higher Learning Commission. We received some excellent, exciting news. We have been approved, which is at the highest level from our accreditors, to be able to deliver programs anywhere we want. Now, All we have to do is notify the Higher Learning Commission. They Natalie does that. She goes in. All she has to do is type in where it's going, and then they get it. It takes about 2 weeks for them to process it, and we can open up a training program anywhere. In fact, the Higher Learning Commission has given us the maximum level, and we can actually open up programs anywhere in the United States, not just Mexico. So if let's just say, for example, there was a need for one of our programs near Amarillo, and there was no program like it in Amarillo, we could actually go over, find space in Amarillo, notify HLC, and deliver the entire program in Amarillo. Or let's say that a wind farm in Indiana would like us to come up and deliver a wind program. All we have to do is notify HLC, and we would be able to go up and deliver this remotely. So really great news on that one. The other letter that we'll talk about is that the Department of Education has redefined what it means by distance education. We'll talk at more length about this, but basically what that means is if you have any, used to say that if 50% of your program was delivered online, or I'm sorry, any more than 50% of your program was delivered online, you had to get special approval from the Higher Learning Commission in order to deliver that program. So what happened is the U.S. Department of Education has provided clarification to the Higher Learning Commission, not to us, but to the Higher Learning Commission, who accredits us. And what they have now changed is the language, and it says any program, quote, in whole or in part, end quote, whole or in part, that delivers any part of that program online, the program must be approved for full online instruction. Okay? We are not, every program we offer has at least one online course in it. So that means every program that we offer has to be approved for online. And it's going to mean that we have to make some pretty serious changes, and we have to make them very, very quickly. I have to get to the HLC by the middle of October, our response and our request for all of our programs to be available online. So it goes to their November meeting, so that once it's in their November meeting, then we are in a state where we can sit and wait for them to approve it. We can continue to function. But if we don't make those deadlines and get our stuff to them, then and the pandemic is lifted, then we are, we're in a bad place because our programs are not approved to be online. So, that's sort of the bad news. The good news is the moment we got this letter, Natalie and I had a meeting with HLC. We went through all the requirements that we needed to do. I'm going to write the response and the application myself to HLC. We have met with Jim and Larry and Josh and the entire team on this, and they have begun to already make changes so that we can get the college fully online by the middle of October. That's why you saw our new website come out this week. The new website that came out is designed for us to build onto it so that we will meet the requirements for HLC to have online programs. The website in and of itself is not fully complete yet. They can correct me if I'm wrong on this number, but I think there's 430 pages that still need to be added to our website. So they're working on those. And so they'll keep sliding those onto the website. What we have right now is a good technical shell. And then we're going to continue to build on that. And we will have that part done and some other steps that we need to take by the middle of October. And we'll be fine with this. It's just an additional hoop that we need to jump through. But we'll be okay and we'll survive. On September the 9th, I met with Chess. You may recall Chess is the collaborative of about half of the community colleges in New Mexico who have joined together for shared services. And we've continued to sign our memorandum with them. They have provided us with $150,000 of grant money to do an audit of our systems. They'll be looking at our IT system. They look at our human resources department. They look at all of these areas, and we would work still as independent colleges, but we would be sharing resources. This will ultimately be a huge savings for us, and will also give us the resources of having someone just down the street who can help us when we need help. So right now, everybody's independent, and they're all trying to get everything accomplished. And they realized that the world works better if we work with each other. So that's good. So on September 10th, I met with a couple of people from the economic development community. And one of those individuals came to me because he has a person who's building a meat processing facility on the outskirts of Tucumcari. And he would like to collaborate with the college. And this would give us an opportunity to enter into an MOU with him so that our students could go ahead and accelerate into this meat processing program, which I thought would make Mr. Sidwell very happy. And then we wouldn't have to build that meat processing program that we were talking about a few minutes ago just yet. Down the road, as the program grows and grows and grows, and hey, we may want to build it. But in the meantime, we would be able to continue to use this facility and be able to use it as a technical lab and these kinds of things. This particular person is not wanting to, he's not wanting a major operation for himself. He's only looking at slaughtering about 10 cattle a week. Our program is comparable. I believe Dr. Insidious says that he was anticipating about slaughtering about 10 cattle a week. So it's a facility that would easily accommodate our work plus the work of the private sector as well. So we're going to continue having that discussion and see how that process plays out. So this may be a very good thing for us, and as we move forward. Any questions about that? Okay.
Is this going to be at the old Packer, the old 66 packing house? Jim, do you know?
I don't know, Mr. Sidwell. I just know that they said it was on the outskirts of town. So
Yeah.
That you probably know more about it than I do when it comes to the location.
I don't know anything about it. So
Right.
I'm just wondering if it was the old packing house, then
I
be a
think
lot
if
of
it's
work
going
to-
if it's going to be over there, it's going to have to be a lot of work to clean
Well,
that
a lot
place
of work
up. And
to
I
bring it
don't
back
know
up to
how
code and
good that
everything.
roof is on that place either.
yeah.
I think he said that they're building it. This guy's building it from scratch.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And so it's going to be a brand new facility.
It's got to be something out east then.
It would
It
have
is
to
easy.
be almost a brand new facility in order for it to pass FDA and these kinds of regulations. I mean, they can't take something that's old now and be able to get it to pass, federal inspectors. So
It'd take a lot of coats of paint to get that whole packing plant back up. And
I frankly didn't get into the construction details too much, Mr. Sidwell. Where I was at with it was I was honing in on being able to get us an opportunity to be able to use it for a facility until we either decide to build one for ourselves or whatever, and be able to get this program moving. And I think that was my top priority with it.
Yeah.
If they want to build it,
with you.
the more power to them. We'll stand out there with them with a shovel and say, let's go for it. But until then, we're happy to be able to work with them, and that's been my goal. So, okay.
And it is someone east of town.
Is it? Okay.
Yes, sir. I just made an appointment for you today with them.
Oh,
So-
okay.
So,
I guess I'm going to be having an appointment soon to discuss this further. So, anyway, this is good. I'm glad, Margaret. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a good step in the right direction for our meat processing program. So anyway, looking at my notes very quickly here. So on September 10th, Mr. Morgan and I met with Bob Hockaday and David White, and they have some ideas about methane production and some other aquaponics and putting in a greenhouse and doing some things. And I told them that at this point in time they're very much in the conceptual stage on a lot of this, and so we would I just talk with them, and we would look into it as their concepts develop, and we would look at how we move forward as we get just a little bit farther down the road. It's a little bit early right now to be able to say, oh yeah, we've got something great going on there, and we can go. We have a lot to do to be able to determine whether a program is viable. You just don't create programs. You have to know whether or not they're going to be students and what kind of money they're going to make, and if going to school is affordable for them, these types of things. And so there's a lot of questions that that I told them that we would work together and we'd see if we could answer those questions before we made any kind of determination on that. But it's a possibility. On September 15th, we began Hispanic Heritage Month, and I just can't say enough to speak highly enough of Dr. Hazel Roundtree, who has done huge amounts of work in the celebration of the Hispanic Heritage Month. There has been activities going on every day. Every day they do a little history lesson, a little fun Spanish quiz. We've had activities taking place every day on campus. And I will tell you that it's been received very, very well. Of course, it adds to our work as an HSI and also now a College of Excellencia in Education. But our staff, I had a staff member come up to me and tell me, she said, this is one of the first times, and she was a Latina, and she said, this is one of the first times that I ever felt like we always talked about being an HSI, but you're actually doing something about it. And I said, I'm very, I'm not Hispanic, but I take the Hispanic culture here very seriously. And so all I can do to support the Hispanic community and to help close that equity gap, because we know that Hispanic students do not perform or graduate at the same level as other students. So we're working very hard to close that gap so that more of them are reaching that success level. That's our goal. That bottom line, plain and simple. And so we're very, very happy to be working on that. But again, a huge shout out to Dr. Roundtree. She's done a terrific job leading this. My next couple of things I wanted to bring you up on real quickly. I was scheduled in your report that you got. It says that on September 15th, I participated in an by invitation only meeting. After my report was written, that meeting got rescheduled till today. And I don't know if my day got better or got worse. So you all can figure it out and decide for yourself. So the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, called HACU, arranged for a few of us who are presidents of Hispanic serving institutions to have a web meeting this morning with the White House. And so this morning, my day started with a web meeting with one of the executive leaders who is working with the COVID issue at the White House. And then later today, I ended up speaking before the legislature. And then this evening, I'm speaking before the board. So I don't know if it got better as my day got on or it got worse, but one way or the other, you figure it out. But that was what happened. So today I did have participate in a meeting with the White House regarding what's happening with and what we can expect with COVID and the changes that are taking place there. And I can share more information with you. I can share some of that information with you later. Some of it won't be released until the White House releases it at the end of the week. So anyway, just as a heads up on that.
I would say that your day got better when you started meeting with us.
You know, Mr. Sidwell, I thought you would say that. And it just kept getting better, didn't it? It just started off low and it just kept getting better.
That's right.
So, yeah, I was a little surprised actually, because I thought I was actually going to be meeting with the Haku people, and instead it was the White House, and so I was a little bit surprised, but it turned out well, and I actually got 2 questions in. So when they, when you have these people from the White House, it's hard to get a question in. So I got 2 of them in today. So anyway. I want again, September 17th was Constitution Day. Mesa Lands did celebrate that. We were we had a wonderful opportunity that day. Again, it was a great activity for our students. If you didn't know, Constitution Day is federally mandated. So all colleges who receive federal funding have to celebrate Constitution Day or you lose your federal funding. So anyway, you can blame that on my old senator from West Virginia. He's the one who made that into a law a long time ago. But so we had a really nice Constitution Day. In fact, because we're lucky to have an attorney on our executive staff, she was able to sit and explain the Bill of Rights and had a very nice conversation about the Bill of Rights with our students that day. So with some refreshments, turned out very, very nice. So again, thanks, Dr. Roundtree, for that piece as well. On the 21st, which was today, as I told you, I went and I did have an opportunity. I'm in Santa Fe now, and I did have I was asked to speak for a few moments today regarding faculty compensation before the New Mexico Legislative Finance Committee. I was requested on behalf of Representative Chatfield. And they wanted to know more about the compensation at Mesa Lands, and I provided that information for them. Let's see what else I had here for you. I believe that's all that we have. Oh, I do have another question for you. Yeah, a couple of things here real quick. I'm trying to separate what I can talk about now and what I have to hold for executive session. So I would need to ask you all what you would like me to do. We are in America. You all know that the college is members of the American Community College Trustees, ACCT. And when we spoke last time, there was nobody available or to go to the ACCT meeting. We've paid for that. And I wondered if you wanted me to go and represent you at this meeting. Presidents and trustees go. I don't have to drag a trustee along, but I didn't want to do it because without your authority, because it is a trustees organization. What do you think? I should go?
I think so. I think you should go.
Okay. Well, you're familiar with it. I mean, because you was on the one board, so. So that's one.
I agree.
You agree, Mr. Sidwell?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take a look at it and we'll see if it conflicts with any of these other big things that's going on. But if it is, I wanted to mention that to you. I also need to mention to you that I'm in Santa Fe on my way back to Tucumcari after going to the golf tournament this weekend with our golf team. And we have an incredible golf team. We have one of our golfers who is 11th in the nation, and one of our golfers who came in 6th at this tournament. So we, again, need to really, I'm telling you folks, this school is amazing. We're doing great things for great people. We're really boosting the economics or the academics. We're doing so many things, and the athletics are just shining. I really, I don't want to paint everything rosy because we certainly have our challenges, but there's a lot of really good things happening, and it's great to have you as a board. Last thing, and then I think I have a few things that we'll deal with in executive session. I believe it's October 2nd or something like that. The Quake County Health Council is having a walk and run event. And so they've asked Mesa Lands to become more involved in that. And so we are. And so they've asked me to be the starter for the race because they think I have the biggest mouth that could say go. And then they have others and then that are going to be, I believe Hazel is leading the race in one of our Mesa Land cars. So we'll be getting a lot of good community involvement and community support on that day. And then a number of our people are volunteering in different capacities. Millen Rasick from our fitness area is working very hard on it. There are others who are going to be working as people who are watching the streets, that type of thing. So a lot of good stuff happening all over the state, all over the country, and even down to a walk and run event. So that's sort of my report, Mr. Chairman, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions, anyone? I've got one question for you. You've got an item on here that says board policy report reviewing.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, I have pulled all of the board policies, going through all of those. I would say that probably 95% of them are going to be fine. There are going to probably be some modifications to about 5 of them. We'll go through our policy updates for you as we talked about at our last meeting, and I'll be bringing those to you probably at the next meeting, depending upon, just to be honest with you, depending upon how crazy it gets between now and then. But I will I'll get those updated. One of them you've already taken care of, and that was the non-discrimination statement. You already approved it, and that was a board policy. So it just slides into the new board policy book. So there won't be very much, just a few here and there, and we'll get those taken care of for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Questions, anyone? Okay, if not, Natalie, you're up.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you will turn your attention to Exhibit 4, you will see the quarterly financial actions report. This inadvertently was left out of last month's board meeting. So between board meetings, these were submitted to HED as required, and you will see that both Mr. Streetman and Dr. Bush signed these reports. You're familiar with these reports that are due to HED every quarter. And as you can see on page 1 of the exhibit, this report consists of answering a series of questions with either yes or no. And in the case of Mesa Lands, all the answers were no. And no is good. So we just wanted this, and this was for the 4th quarter of FY21. So the next quarterly reports will be presented for the 1st quarter of FY22, because that's the current fiscal year we're in. Are there any questions concerning the quarterly financial reports? If not, I'll move to item 2. And as per the annual board report or the list of reports presented to the board annually. Normally during the month of September, Donna Garcia, and most recently in the past, would present a community education report to the board. But because of COVID and the limitations placed on face-to-face classes, there was little to no community education offerings. Therefore, we don't have a report to present this year. And hopefully that will change for next year.
Okay. Then Dr. Roundtree, you're up.
Good evening. I am really pleased to report that myself and Dr. Forrest Cox have completed all the required reporting for institutional research to the Higher Education Commission that meets Mesaland Community College's obligation. So that's really important when we report to that agency. Secondly, we have an annual report that is due October the 1st. It's called Campus Safety Survey. We work with the local police department to make a report to the Department of Education, which influences our ability to receive financial aid, regarding any reports that any crimes that are reported from campus. We are obligated to make a report of that. So I spoke with the acting chief of police today, and they are going to send that report to me tomorrow. So we are, ahead of the game, and we will easily meet our October the 1st deadline to make that report. So those are the very serious compliance issues that I wanted to report, that Mesaland is in full compliance of our reporting obligations, so that our financial aid is not in jeopardy. The next thing I want to do is switch hats just a little and talk a little bit more about student activities. And it's really nice to report about student engagement. We have a significant number of students that have been successfully participating in a number of our events on campus, whether that be Spirit Day, whether that be Hispanic Heritage Month, or Constitution Day, that we now have a cadre of students who are very willingly able and interested in participating and engaging in so many of our student engagement activities. And the reason that's important is because students need to build camaraderie in order to feel a sense of belonging. And that's one of the research items that I focus on in terms of student retention, that it is for a commuter campus, we still have to help students achieve that sense of belonging, that this is a place where they need to be and they want to be. And so with that in mind, we often plan activities that are conveniently scheduled around their classes. We plan activities that meet some of their basic needs. One of the activities that was placed on our home website was the distribution of cleaning products. Now, many universities wouldn't do that, but because we're a community college and we have students living in dorms, we have students living alone for the first time in their lives, we're in a pandemic. The small committee of myself and a faculty member, Mr. B, as well as a couple of students, that we got together and put together big cleaning packages, we call them care packages, for our students, to encourage them to be mindful that, particularly during this pandemic, it's important to practice social distancing and to be clean and to keep their environment clean and safe, so that even if they have visitors, that their environment is still clean, and we want them to be safe while they're here, and Tucumcari. So that was a very rewarding activity that received not only positive feedback from our students, but we had 2 of their parents send me an email thanking me for helping their students receive cleaning products. And finally, I want to talk just a little bit about our outreach to the community. One of the things that Natalie mentioned was it's difficult doing community outreach during a pandemic, and we all know that. So one of the things that we decided to do was to send a resounding message to the community through our art. And what we did was we just whitewashed the building on 66 and 10th Street, and we put up Hispanic Heritage memorabilia just to send the message that this was Hispanic Heritage Month. Next month, when it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we'll put up that type of announcements to let the community know that we are here as a resource, we're here as a support, that we have a connection to the issues that are important to our community. And one of the reasons that this is important is because we want to engage our students to be actively in service to the community. That's community is our middle name. So we have a fiduciary responsibility to reach out to our community when we can and however we can. So just sending that positive message to the community is so very important. So we plan to change up those advertisements and send a real positive message to our community every single different month. And the neat thing about this project is that the art students and their faculty members got together, they planned the advertisement, they produce it, and they actually put it up, and it's just put up with push pins. And they put the advertisement up and then they take it down, and just for the cost of paint, that's all it costs. But the rewards to the students are endless. So we are so happy to engage our students, particularly those students like the art students that often stay on the peripheral, but we bring them in, and now they're a part of the main campus, and they're a part of a really big celebration, whatever that is each month. So we will continue to reach out to our students and encourage them to be a strong part of the Masaland family. That is my report, and thank you.
Mr. Streetman, did we need to take action on the quarterly financial action report?
Yes, ma'am, we do. And we overlooked that, but yes, ma'am, we do. We need to back up to that and pick that up. And that is an action item. Do we have a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion that we approve the report.
Okay, and a second, please.
I'll second it.
And roll call.
Ms. Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carried.
Thank you, Margaret.
Yes, sir.
Very important that we get that done.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next up, Josh.
All right, good evening. I'm very excited to report. My report covers, there's a lot of things in public relations that we covered over this last month, and it has a lot to do with other areas such as activities. So we, doing t-shirts, t-shirt designs, working in collaboration with that, but also the website is another big obstacle or a big challenge that we took on, and we're very proud of the job that we did. Larry did a fantastic job on that and getting that accomplished. And as Dr. Bush pointed out, that's set in a good position, and we can continue to build on that, which will also help us with our strategic enrollment and utilizing the website as effectively as possible to make the process of enrollment for our potential students, which will become students, as simple as possible in the future, which will help us add to our enrollment, of course. So we're very excited about our website and about the direction that it's headed in and what we can accomplish in the future for student success and access through that resource. We've also, on the same token for public relations, I do want to take a moment to talk about our logo and the color changes that we've been proposing and looking at. And so what I'm going to do right now, I know that in the booklets there's some copies there that you can take a look at, but the color isn't real sharp. And so what I'd like to do is just share my screen with you so you can take a look at the colors on the screen. I think that'll help you get a better view of what they're going to look like in the future. And so I'm going to share that screen with you right now. So this is our logo with the blue and the gold, and gives you a good idea of that. And then of course our rodeo blue and gold, what our athletics logo is going to look like for our rodeo team in the future as well. This is very important. Okay. This is very important for our identity, and as Park Hill had pointed out earlier, with our identity as a college and as an organization, being that who we are and who we're defined as, but also who our students identify as. And as we look around campus, we notice that the buildings are blue, the roofs are blue, the pillars are blue. When you go inside the buildings, the furniture is blue. Much of everything around campus is blue. And so what we're proposing is to change the colors of our logo to match essentially what the physical attributes of our campus are. And colors in brand identity are incredibly important, and consistency is important. The color blue itself represents courage, which I think has a lot to do with the courage to climb a wind tower and to work in renewable energy. But it also has to do with wisdom, and it has to do with loyalty. And the gold is a color of prestige. It's a very prestigious color. And again, these colors through psychology, when we're looking at this in branding and in marketing, the colors communicate these ideals and these values that we as a college have. And so when students come on campus, they're drawn in by our logos or our View book or any materials that we put out there, expressing to them our values, but then associating them when they come on campus, they can see and locate us more easily, and they can identify with that based on the structures that they see around campus. And so it has a lot of value. The colors themselves have a lot of value in the identity of our brand and who we are as a college, and who we want to communicate ourselves to be to our students. And so that can be incredibly important moving into the future. And I think that would have great significance in doing that. So again, changing those branding colors and proposing that idea to you this evening as well help to communicate, again, our identity as an organization, which goes along the line of what Brian Griggs was talking about with who our identity as a college is, and being consistent on that front. Along the lines, again, with public relations, we're also doing an Attaboy program. We're trying to help boost morale on campus, help to increase communication amongst faculty, staff, and students. So the Attaboy program that Dr. Bush has brought in and incorporated, we've been able to build cards that we can encourage one another with. So if someone goes above and beyond, there's an opportunity, and I do want to show that as well while I have a chance to do that, to promote one another and to encourage one another and raising the morale on campus as we're all working hard to accomplish the goals for our students, first and foremost for their success, but also encouraging one another as we all work together to accomplish these jobs successfully. And so we were able to design those cards that we'll be handing out. And of course, there's different types of prizes, and this is for staff and faculty to encourage morale in those areas. As far as our strategic enrollment, we continue to move forward by encouraging streamlining the process where students are enrolled. As I mentioned earlier with our website, the strategies that we use are all going to go together along with marketing, as well as the processes that we're putting in place currently to ensure that we continue to increase enrollment for years to come and provide more opportunities for students to have the best training possible for their future careers. I've also been working with faculty in recruiting, and faculty has worked with me in a schedule. The state puts out a schedule for different high schools across the state and when they're available for their college fairs. And so I've been able to advertise that and work with faculty in order for us to attend these college fairs across the state. And we've been very successful in doing that. We've also incorporated some marketing strategies involving QR codes and capturing student data and prospects, so that we can begin a relationship with the students, and then we can help them to navigate their way into their future careers and the best possible possible training that they can receive here at Mesalands Community College. And so the faculty have been just phenomenal in working with this recruiting effort and being available to travel across the state at all of these different fairs, college fairs at different high schools, which actually happen over the next, I believe it's 6 to 8 weeks that we've been doing this. We've also set up some appointments at different high schools across the state to have our faculty do demonstrations where they can actually go into the high school, they can teach a class, they can have time during the day to demonstrate the different trainings that they do at the college here, and then communicate to the benefits of those to the students for their future careers as well. Working with financial aid as we continue through, the yearly audits that we do, and ensuring that the documentation has all been completed and has been successful for all of those as well. I had done some vaccination events in the past with FEMA, and we've worked very closely with FEMA, and of course the communication that we've been working with faculty and staff and the employees of Mesalands Community College to ensure that we're all working in a safe environment, but also communicating that with the state environment agency as well as OSHA, and ensuring that we're doing all that we need to do to be as safe as possible, but also to follow their procedures and guidelines as well, and communicating that effectively to staff and faculty and employees of Mesalands Community College. And that also includes coordinating with Sunrise Medical and with other organizations for testing and testing opportunities. And just to kind of highlight, I don't want to take too much time, but I have worked with advertising, whether it's with SBDC or advertising positions and jobs we have available, but ensuring that all of that criteria has been met and that we have are advertising effectively to gain the best employees possible here at Mesalands Community College. And the final thing I'll finish out with is our, we continue to have our relationships with universities, and they're communicating with us and bringing in advertising materials, provide more opportunities for our students to not only, train here and get their certificates or degrees here, but also in the future, moving on to possible 4-year degrees. For instance, I've been working with Franklin University to help advertise that. Eastern New Mexico University was actually here on campus. And those are strategic relationships that we're able to incorporate to provide our students with more options and potential for success into the future by giving them the access that they need to be successful. And so a lot of things going on and a lot of exciting stuff. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Josh, would you mind just touching briefly on our conversation about my request of you to redirect your marketing approach more toward the corporate model as it relates to marketing and recruiting new students?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So it's fantastic. The first opportunity, for instance, as an example, is in our recruiting efforts at the high schools, even there with faculty going out and advertising. So as they're recruiting, they're building relationships, but also there's an opportunity for advertising and incorporating models that have been corporate models or used by corporations in the past to attract students effectively. What I mean by that is, whether it's capturing data that many times can be overlooked. There's opportunities there for us, for instance, the QR code, which they can scan, but then they can also fill out. By scanning that code, they're able to fill out some information. It's also very interactive in the way that, we're able to work with the students and incorporate their information, gain that data, but also using that data in a way that's effective. Corporate marketing is a way to capture students' data, but then to build a relationship with that data and using the data to better understand what's effective and what works. When we use the data to see what's working and what's effective, then we're able to be more successful in helping students accomplish the goals that they're wanting to achieve. And we don't have as many students fall through the cracks, but we're able to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to participate and be a part of that. In my experience from the corporate world and moving into higher ed, I have seen that higher ed to a certain degree takes advantage that students just want to come to college and expect to come to college. And I think that there's a lot lost there where we have an opportunity to better reach out, communicate, and help students, help guide them along the way to a future by showing them the value and what an education can offer. As a matter of fact, according to studies, and I've mentioned this on the radio before in interviews, but just 1 year of education will increase someone's earning potential by 10%. And that's how valuable education can be in students' lives. And it's important for us to communicate that in a way that's effective. And then being able to, again, use the data that we're able to get through recruiting efforts and be more effective in helping them accomplish their goals.
Okay. Josh, could you highlight for us a little bit about what the percentages was? You took a poll on this changing of the colors. What was the percentage of going to blue from green and so forth?
Yes, so we started out by asking or polling the faculty and staff and the percentages, and then we combined that also with the students as well. So the overall percentages are over 75% of those that are interested or wanting to change colors. The replies that I got back were positive, replies as far as I could quote some as saying, yes, let's do it. This is great. Others have given comments about, what about different color combinations? But the overwhelming, coming back from that survey, those surveys that we gave out, has been supportive of changing the color to blue.
Okay. That being said, because of the fact that our buildings, our trim line, our roofs, and all of our buildings, almost all of them are blue. That is the reason we're looking at those color changes and again going that direction. We have a item here to take action on do we want to change the colors? So I guess my question now is, do we have a motion to change the colors from green to blue?
Let's move.
Okay, in a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Very good. I guess our new business cards will have a blue Mesa Lands Community College on them for the time being. Cool. That being said, we're onward to the next item. Administrative Affairs, Mr. Morgan. You're up, sir.
Yes, sir. First, I want to share some good news. We got from today a report from the museum that through the 20th, they have as much revenue and number of visitors as they had the entire month last September. That is very good news. They had an open house this past Saturday. I don't know if any of you were able to go, but they had 245 local residents stop by and visit the museum last Saturday.
Cool.
That's a great quantity. From my notes, I would just like a couple of things, and I'll go on. We did get a redo from NextEra on all those panels that they sent, 1,100 and some odd panels, and they're now all gone. They have now replaced them with 10 new pallets, 270 panels. Them, certify them, and we'll be able to use them in that solar field that we saw in the master plan. In addition, during discussions with a recycle company about those panels and sending them pictures and all, they said, would you like some free panels? And I said, sure. So I paid shipping for 25 250 watt panels, and they should be in any day now. We could put those to good use. That company also said, don't send them the panels I sent them pictures of, because they don't want to have to deal with those 1,100 panels, because they're not recyclable. And I knew that by looking. In Zanzibar, we did a lot of work, Margaret and Natalie, in getting the budget for this year ready to go into the Zanzibar Live. And what we found was that in the process of getting it ready, we added some lines, some new budgets with some new line items that weren't in there previously. nobody that's been working on it is qualified or able to import it back into Excel. We have to wait and get Larry to help us import it from Excel back into Gensbar. So we added the lines to Excel, and now we can't get it back into Gensbar directly, but I'm sure Larry will be able to do that for us.
Jim,
Yes,
if I could just interrupt there for a minute.
sure.
Some of those new lines, whenever I went through and was reviewing those were duplicates. So I was able to go through and manually get all of the budgets from Excel over to the J1 data play, and it's ready to go live.
Okay, so we'll move it into data, and then we'll be good.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Thank you, Margaret, for the update. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
The other thing I wanted to point out is we had that storm, and it seemed like to me it was very unusual, and the rain was coming from the north. It was cold, but normally our heavy rain comes out of the south and southwest. So we had a lot of new leaks that we've never had before. I think it's mainly because of the direction of the wind and the fact that the rain was so heavy. I'm going to have to watch it, but I think a lot of those leaks that we got reported for our weather. We'll look at it next time we get some rain, but I think they were because we got high winds out of the north with heavy rain. Would everybody turn to Exhibit 6, please? This is the finance report. It is composed of 3 sections. However, the first section, which is monthly expenditures, depends upon me being able to have an accurate report from a budget summary. And right now, until we get the auditor's report and implement that back into the accounts and do the journal entries, I can't get a positive report, so I'm not including that exhibit. The CD report, I'm starting to get trickled information on the CDs we have scattered out amongst 4 different institutions, but I don't have all of them yet, so I'm not prepared to do that part of the report yet either. The part I do have, checks paid report. I would like to point out that there's a huge number of voids in that report, and I can explain that as follows. Some of the checks were because the Gensbar update changed the default template we were using. It didn't revise anything, it just changed the default. So we had to go back to what we used to be using. Another bunch of them was because the printer that we use ran out of ink, but it didn't tell us it was out of ink. So a lot of the checks were, had that happen before, but we caught it. So we voided all those checks and reprinted them. A couple of the errors were just clerical. The main problems that had to have us void some checks. Are there any other questions?
I don't have any questions, but I'm going to express concern. We still don't have a budget summary. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about us having to wait till we get a full audit report back to be able to start getting a budget summary. And as far as the CDs, there's 13 CDs out there scattered through the institutions, and I don't know why we don't have that information. I feel like we should have it. If we don't have the numbers for those certificates, we need to find out where they are. I'm sorry. That's just something I think we've got to get rectified and rectified pretty quick. We've got a lot of money tied up in those 13 CDs. We need to know that what's there, what it's cured to, and where it is.
If I could interject here, I can help obtain that CD information, as I previously stated. And as far as the budget report going forward for the current fiscal year in which we are in, you will not have to wait for the report from the audit, because that year, our current year is not under audit. It was a previous year.
Right.
So you will be able to get that.
Okay.
And again, I can help with that if needed.
I think it's necessary, Natalie. We haven't had a statement. I think the last one that I saw that was complete was given to us in either February or March,
Yes.
and of 20.
Yes.
20, is that right? Yeah, I think that's correct. And
No,
so
actually of 21. I'm sorry, Mr. Streetman. It was the last month Amanda was here, which would
Okay.
have been of 21.
okay, excuse me, 21. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's just, it kind of concerns
I
us.
believe we make changes to this year's account based upon the journal entries that we enter from the audit. So I'm wondering if that doesn't float over into this year's account and cause effects on this year's accounts.
No,
But I
because
think
they're independent budgets, Jim. Each year, a new budget is presented to the state of New Mexico.
Right.
So, and revenues and expenses are included in that budget, and that's what's presented to the board. And revenues and expenses are closed out each year and begin anew each year. So I can help you with that.
That's
And-
fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. I was told we don't do it till after we get the audit done. So that's why I've been
No.
waiting.
No.
No, we can't wait that long.
There's just a misunderstanding. So I can help with that.
I can also tell you that we have written all the banks wanting all of the, not just the balances, but all details on each of the CDs. And all of them have been, that's all been requested from all the banks. They're funneling that back to Jim. And I sent those letters myself to them. So we'll have not just the principal and the growth on those, but we'll know everything about them when we get them back.
Yeah. When they're due, and the interest coming and so forth. Yeah. Okay. Onward and
I need-
upward. Mr. Morgan.
I need an action on the finance report
No,
as it stands.
there's no action on that financial report. There's not an action item on it.
No.
Okay, sorry.
Now the next one there is, sir.
Yes, sir, I know. The next one is Exhibit 7. It has to do with the research and public service projects that we request every year. We request funding to either continue to support them or to increase it with a new one. The Wind Training Center budget for this year has actually been increased by $10,000. What that is meant to do is cover a new mechanical way to power the blade pitch. We've been using batteries and chargers for those batteries. We have 12 batteries and 4 per axis. No, 6 chargers, 2 per axis. And we get a lot of failures in all that equipment. There's a new company out which is now using capacitors to charge the capacitors, which if you've been watching the capacitance, so a lot of people are using capacitors for starters in their car, run their starters. So that's a new process I've used. I've fully checked it out. I've done references with people who are using them. I think it's a good deal, so we're going to get that in. Andy has been conferred on, and he agrees. That will replace the batteries and chargers that have high failure rates with capacitors which have a long life. So that was the only increase I made in the Wind Training Center RPSP request. That was number 1. Number 2 request is for a police force for the campus. The total amount on that we requested was $482,000 to cover salaries, a vehicle, licensing, training, gun lockers, firearms, and radios. The budget amounts that I used, I've bounced off of a retired state policeman and a local police person, and they feel like those numbers are fairly accurate. They may be a little low are a little high, but between the lows and the highs, they think that'll be adequate to supply us with a 3-man police force, 24 hours a day. The logic is, if anything were to happen to anybody on our campus and we didn't have any way to investigate or reduce the impact of that disaster, whatever it is, we would not look like we were in good shape to be offering safety and security to our staff and students and on campus. Questions?
Questions, anyone?
Jim, question I have, the money's going to come from the state plus the tobacco settlement fund.
Yes, that's what they typically pay RPSP with. That's the fund they use.
Okay, so will that be occurring every year then?
It is for the first year. We will have to ask for it to be reoccurring next year. Just like wind, we have to request it every year. It's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
They support wind so strongly that it's almost like a rubber stamp nowadays, but we still have to request it, go through the same logic and everything.
Okay.
Mr. Sidwell, if you don't mind me interrupting, the programs that have the schools that have nursing programs, you can't hire nursing faculty at the same salaries that you can hire other faculty. They require a lot more money to come work for you because they can work and make a lot more money out in the field. And so the schools that have nursing programs, routinely, this is their process of being able to build that cushion on top of a normal salary, is they get it from RPSP.
Okay.
And they get it every year to pay for nurses.
All right. That was my main question there. So thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I so move.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. At this point in our juncture, we've got an executive session here. We need to go into executive session for limited personnel matters allowed under these statutes and everything. It has to do with litigation, real property, water rights, and so forth, according to the statutes. So do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Teresa
I'll make a
Stevenson,
motion.
so moved.
I second.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Thank
who
you.
seconded?
Tom,
Okay, thank you.
roll call, please.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
Miss Stevenson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Dr. Bush, who do all we want in here with us?
Executive staff, please.
Okay. Executive staff and or send out an update during between meetings.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hazel, that's coming.
We've had past presidents do that too. Send an update out about 2 weeks in and so forth.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Do that because I hate writing those reports.
Okay, you got a fall schedule adjustment too? Something else besides the December date?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I am back.
Okay. There you are.
Yes, sir.
And I guess we're waiting for Larry to get everything up and running again.
Okay.
Thank you for the small talk. Stream looks good.
We are streaming then, Larry?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Action needed if based on the executive session. At this point in time, there is no action to be taken based on our executive session.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman. Did y'all vote to reconvene from executive
yes, ma'am.
session?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Motion, please, to reconvene from executive session.
I make a motion to reconvene.
In a second, please.
I'll second it.
Okay. Now, roll call.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Back to my statement.
Yes, sir.
Action if needed based on executive session. There will be no action needed based on executive session. I think we're all getting tired. This has been a long night. New business. We have a fall schedule adjustment. Is that correct, Dr. Bush?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. What I would like to ask the board to consider is the way our schedule is set up. The students go up to Thanksgiving, the 2 days of Thanksgiving week. And then they come back after Thanksgiving for finals. And that's all they do is finals. And then they're done. What we are suggesting and have spoken with the faculty and they are endorsing is that we actually take those couple of days prior to the Thanksgiving break and use it for finals and end the semester when they leave for Thanksgiving. The reason is because they are concerned that they will go home or travel during Thanksgiving and bring back COVID. Yep. And so they're only coming back for tests and we're only talking about 2 days. The faculty are there waiting for the decision tonight, and then they will all work together to make sure that all of the instructional minutes are being met as required by law and accreditation. So they will adjust their teaching schedules so that they don't actually lose anything. They'll just finish instruction 2 days earlier, do their finals, and be done so that the students don't leave and potentially bring the virus back.
Okay.
So I would be asking you for a motion to approve or not approve.
Questions, anyone? Okay, if we have no questions, do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes.
and Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Next item we have is we need to make an adjustment in our calendar for December. We are scheduled to have our meeting on the third Tuesday, which will be when everybody is on Christmas break. So we need to move that back to the 14th. So do we have a motion to change our December date from the 21st to the 14th of December?
So moved.
Okay, in a second.
I'll second this.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Streetman,
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Correspondence, we were discussing that a while ago. That will be something that Dr. Bush has got to get taken care of. We'll go on to we have our 12-month calendar. And on that 12-month calendar, be sure you change the date to the 14th instead of the 21st of December.
Yes, sir.
And informational items, college will be closed Thanksgiving, 24th to the 26th. The holiday break period will start from the 20th and run through the 31st. And course, that's our 12-month calendar, and then our annual calendar reports, so Exhibit 10. Folks, is there anything else anybody wants to throw out? I failed to run through the thing the last time, so we're going to run through. Josh, you got anything?
Sorry, I'm trying to get there. No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, Teresa.
I really enjoy the stuff that we've been getting for the Hispanic month and all the words. I've been going over them with my granddaughters.
Oh, good.
It's really good to see all this going on.
Thank you.
Holly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Jimmy?
The same thing as Teresa said. I'm very happy about it, for what's happening.
Thank you.
Tom? You're muted, sir.
Yeah, I haven't got anything, but I think that's a good job on the language lessons.
Oh, thank you.
Dr. Roundtree.
I just want to say thank you to Dr. Bush for encouraging me to do that. He has been such a good mentor and leader, and I'm far away from home, but I have started to feel like home here in New Mexico. So I want to thank my colleagues. I just work with some extremely dedicated, hardworking people. I hope that you all know that. I mean, I'm a new kid on the block, but I'm telling you, the people that I work with make the biggest difference in my life. So I thank my colleagues so very much. Thank you.
Teresa?
I just wondered if we're invited to go have menudo tomorrow afternoon.
I hope you come. Dr. Bush said he's going to try it a little. Maybe.
No, I did not say that.
I think I heard him say he was not going to do
it's
that.
menudo with the president, but the president's not eating menudo.
Oh, you got to try it. You'll like it.
Who's fixing it?
Well, we wanted the authentic wagon man to fix it, but he was not available. So we had to go to another place where some people like, some people don't. So we're just giving little small samples just to have some authentic food and to expand your horizon. So the man that does a food truck is supposedly the best. He's very authentic.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have Dr. Bush, we'll have him a relish tray and I can't pronounce it, churros maybe?
Yeah. Oh, heroes. Yeah.
Churros.
Heroes. Mm-hmm.
Churros. My Spanish has gotten better too, Ms. Stevenson. I practice every day.
But I do think it's important to mention, though, Mrs. Stevenson does bring up a very important point, and that is we have a lot of stuff going on at the college, and I just want to personally invite all of the board anytime that you want to come and have menudo or any of our events. Any of you are always welcome. You know, we have a speaker coming in the 1st of October on Hispanic student success. All the faculty and staff will be there, and I figure we'll probably have some guests from other colleges as well. But those kinds of things, you know, you're all of you are always welcome.
Jim?
No, sir.
Okay, Dr. Bush.
I think I just wrapped it up. We've been.
Okay.
I think it's time for breakfast. So
Natalie, we'll move on. Natalie.
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, Margaret.
No, sir. Thank you.
Larry.
No, sir, I'm good.
Okay. That being said, I'll tell you, folks, if I don't have my chili fix at least 3 or 4 times a week, I don't know. I've got to have something hot. That's all there is to it. And I do like it hot. But anyway, that being said, I think we'll call this a night at 9:15. It's one of the longest meetings we've had in a long time.
That's true.
Y'all have a good night and good week. And